our service. Let's go and look under the hood again. If memory cache, okay, never mind. If the value is successful, that's fine. Otherwise, we create the entry, set the value, and then let's return cache dot. Now this is one I definitely would be expecting this to pass. And so this is, by the way, why I love unit tests, because I think it's really important to get, actually understand what your code is doing, to actually take a look at this. And I love feeling like a beginner, and that is one of my favorite things about streaming, is that I get to kind of learn or relearn this stuff that I've done a bunch before, and make it new again. So let's go ahead and keep looking through this. Okay, so when this is called, it will attempt to get the value. And if it gets the value, it will return it because it will be populated. All right, you can inline that variable declaration, sure. That is great. Otherwise, so we can't find it. If it can find it, we'll return it. Otherwise, we will call it. So maybe we're not actually entering the cache entry. Maybe it's not actually creating that cache entry. Maybe that's what's going wrong here. Interesting. Okay. Variables, try to get a handle on things. So it's still calling it 3 times the mock service. Okay. We're still passing in the mock service. Each time definitely doing that up. Okay. Do some cleanup here while we're going through, because why not? Might as well. Who knows what that ends up. Whenever I get stuck, I always try to do some cleanup. One, so I feel productive while I think through things, and two, just so I can kind of make some progress. You never know what some cleanup will do for you sometimes. Clears my head, gets me thinking about something else. All right, what am I missing here? Turn that off for this file. For that class, okay. Oh, do we have to await something somewhere? I wonder. Let me double check on that. So, cache service. Let's make a private method here called try this. Maybe I think I'm doing something wrong here. So let's go ahead, try this out. Well, this is always fun. Thought this was going to be a quick part of the stream. Gotta love it. Always humbling to stream live. One of the things I like about this is getting the muscle memory, and it's always a very humbling experience. And when you've been developing for a long time, it's always good to remember that you can forget things as easily as you learn them, and it's always important to keep things front and center, or keep this kind of practice up, which is why I'm glad I'm getting the chance to do this app in the first place. To an output real quick here. So otherwise, so if it's not from the cache, then we're going to get it from there, create the cache, okay, value, and then try this. Oh, let's try to get value not have any sync. Okay. Well, if you're out there, I'd love to know what I'm missing. And so if you happen to be on the stream right now, feel free to chime in. As much as I love dangling here by myself, I want to see about this and see what's going on. Okay, so we know it's doing exactly what we don't want it to do. It's calling the underlying service 3 times. Okay. So it looks like the adding is just not happening. And that's kind of what I feel like is going on. So let's go ahead and look at what's going on here. I'm going to go ahead and debug it, because why not? Go ahead and debug, set a breakpoint here. When in doubt, let's go ahead and debug. Now, normally if I'm debugging a unit test, that means that something is pretty wrong. And so, let's figure out where the heck I'm going wrong, and hopefully we all have a good laugh. Okay, so the first time around, I would expect that that is false. Right. So, we get the repo list. We have it. Oh, interesting. I wouldn't expect that to be null. We should be setting that up to return something. That might be why it's not actually adding it. That makes sense. Okay. So in our cache service tests, we should be setting it up to make sure it at least returns a new list by default. So let's go ahead and set that up. That could be what is going on. It's not going to add it to the cache if it's null, because that wouldn't make much sense, and so it's not adding an entry at all. So we'll want to double check that, make sure that I'm doing that right. That makes sense. Returns. Test that from result of new list of GitHub repo. So at least by default here, we see those things working out. Well, there goes my theory. So the underlying item should at least now be an empty list. So it shouldn't be it should be an empty object there. So let's see. Still calling it 3 times. Go ahead and debug that one more time. Alright, so again, first time around, does not get it from the cache, right? So we're going to go on to get the repo list. We see it's an empty list with a count of 0. It's creating the cache entry. Right, key is repo list, right? We see the count, the value is null right now. We're going to set that value. Should go ahead and see it now. The value is now a list with a count of 0. So it returns that. This time around, got from cache is still false. So no matter what, it's not reporting it to be in the cache. So maybe I need to persist the cache entry in some way. We've set the value. That might be what I did, in which case that would be really funny. Each time it's creating a new item there. Okay. Okay, this might be it. Let's see, memory cache. Our options are to create an entry, create an or overwrite an entry in the cache. Let's do set. Let's try that instead. That might make more sense. So we're going to set it. The object key is going to be, again, that repo cache key. The item value is going to be the repo list. The memory cache date time offset. See, time span relative to now. So let's do time span from days 1. So we're going to set that expiration. This might be a little bit better here. Okay, so that test is passing now. We don't actually need to dump that out to a value. Or does it actually return it? It does return it. So let's go ahead and return cache entry. Okay. There we go. Okay, so the issue here, and just to recap and put us back on the right track, is that what we were calling, for whatever reason, creating the new cache entry and setting the value manually wasn't doing what memory cache.set does. So I was calling the wrong method, and that's why I wasn't actually adding it to the memory cache, which is great. Okay, so in this case, it was actually great to have an integration test, because otherwise, if I had been able to mock all that stuff out, it wouldn't have worked as I'd expected it to in production. So this is one of those places where it may make a lot of sense actually to have a memory cache there. Okay, and note that also, I think I'm thinking about it. I wonder if memory cache implements iDisposable. Let's double check that, because I may want to clean that up. Let's go back to our memory cache here. Let's see if I can call it dispose. Just want to see if it makes it available. Okay, so it does call iDisposable there. So, okay, so let's go ahead and then, the reason I mention that is because we're going to want to implement iDisposable here then and actually do a teardown on our memory cache. So we'll do all right, we'll wait for Visual Studio to freeze. That's always fun. All right, so we're actually going to implement iDisposable here. And this is the equivalent of XUnit's teardown, right? It uses the standard iDisposable pattern from C#. And so I'm going to go ahead and where I have my memory cache, I'm going to go ahead and call memory cache.dispose. ReSharper has helped us out by auto-populating that. Thank you, ReSharper. All right, so now I've got that there, and I've got my teardown complete there. Okay, and I'm actually going to go ahead and move. Now, normally I would keep that down at the bottom here, but actually I want to kind of have my setup and my teardown alongside each other. So I'm going to go ahead and put them there. All right, so we should still be good to go. All right, so test using actual memory cache. All right, and we're back off and running. So next we want to make sure that even though we call it multiple times, we're still getting the correct repository list from the underlying service. So we'll go ahead and check this. We'll make this an async. Oops. Make this an async task as well. So we've got our fake repositories list here, and we're going to go ahead and multiple times we're going to await that. So we'll do it twice or 3 times, then we'll save that result. Right, so we're essentially mimicking the third time that we get this, right? Do our mock setup here. Okay, so saying that even after multiple tries, we're getting it from the cache, we should still be getting the correct list. So we'll say okay, if this works, we should see all our tests pass here. Ooh, and they're not. Interesting. Oh, okay, they are. And Crunch just hadn't picked up on it to run again. Okay. So not too shabby. There we go. Okay, so we are good to go. Our tests are passing. All right, so we've got our memory cache. It's definitely a 24-hour expiration for now. It's hard-coded, so I mean that's probably not great, but we'll go ahead and do that. So the next part is I want to use that cached GitHub service instead of the GitHub service. So first thing I've got to do is I want to adhere to the same interface as my GitHub service. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that that is available as well. So now I can look that up and I can add that as an interface, because the rest of my code is just expecting the interface to match that contract, so that's totally good. I'm going to go ahead and go to my startup class and actually wire that up so that we're using when we ask for an GitHub service, we're actually going to give it the actual cached GitHub service. So we see here, instead, we're going to var cached service equals new cached GitHub service, and we're going to pass in our GitHub service and a new memory cache. And so, let's see, 1 second here. Okay, so right now we're just kind of passing in an overall caching. Now, the other thing we noticed here, first off, we'll return the cache service instead. Second off, we should see here that we've got our services add transient here. We're going to change that. We're going to want to keep that around. Let's see. Don't think I want to scope. I think we want to add. In this case, we do want to add a singleton. Right, and so what we're saying is that that's going to stay around for the life of the application there, and we're just going to wire up that singleton for us, which is very helpful. So now we should go ahead. We should be able to go ahead and run the application. What we should see is that the performance is much better after that first run. So let's go ahead and kick that off and see where we're at. Folks who are in the chat, happy to have you with us. Thanks for being here. While we wait for this to start up. I'd love to know where you're from or how you found us or anything like that, so definitely let me know. All right, we can see here that it's taking its time to work and do that GitHub, accessing the GitHub application, or accessing GitHub API, Octokit, it's building that stuff up. So hopefully in a second we'll see it load, and then we should be able to watch what's happening here. Oh, turns out it's helpful if you don't debug it, or if you don't stop it from loading. Okay, so we see that took a while, but now if I refresh, you see it happening pretty quickly, right? So I'm actually getting that list back pretty quickly. So in fact, just to showcase that, I'm going to go ahead, now that we've removed that breakpoint, I'm going to go ahead and restart that application. Right, so it's going to restart it. That's going to clear the thing that we've cached, because it's an in-memory cache here. All right, I'm going to hit F12. So we can see on the network tab here. So we should be able to see here. Oh, so we can see here it took a little while there. The overall load. I find that finished in 664 milliseconds. But we should be able to see that is taking a lot less time. And I believe it is, I just can't prove it for sure. So here we go, let's see. Because the first time I loaded it, I can't, let's give that a shot. All right, 1 second here. Let's see if we can load the browser tools by default. Let's go ahead and do this as well. Let's go ahead and get the logger service just to verify that we're, well, no, in fact, we know if we're asking for a GitHub repo or a GitHub service that we're getting that cached GitHub service. So I think that's good to go. In fact, what we can see, that's what we can probably see. I'm going to pull up Fiddler, see the outgoing calls to the GitHub API. So we'll go ahead, we'll restart that application. Okay. So we should be able to start seeing some things here as it loads up. Oh. Interesting. Filters. I have some filters on apparently. Let's not use any filters. Let's try one more time. Alright, we see some things happening here while the site's loading. Oh, interesting enough, I'm not actually seeing any content. Oh, okay. You know, it's because I'm using HTTPS, I think. Yeah, I think that might be the case here. Okay. I'm really just trying to see the difference here. Let's see if I can remove the HTTP. I think I'm going to do a redirect regardless. Yeah, so I have to use HTTPS in my case. Alright, so, okay, here we go. Hide. Okay. Well, HTTPS, let's see. Let's go capture HTTPS connects, decrypt traffic, intercept HTTPS traffic, generates a root certificate. Yes, I will trust this root certificate. Yes, I will trust it. Okay, great. We're going to capture it from browsers. We'll catch it from all processes for right now. That's fine. Okay, so let's go ahead and try reloading that site again. See if we capture anything this time. Alright, trying to load up. Alright, the page is still loading here, but I'm not detecting it. Okay, so we may need to, set this aside for now. I do know that we're using the memory. I do know that we are using the memory cache here. And I do know, so I do know that we are using the memory cache, and I do know that it should be faster. I just can't prove it right now. And that is going to bug the heck out of me, quite frankly. So this has been an interesting adventure so far. I am not deterred. In fact, what I'm going to do though is I'm going to take a break for about 2 minutes, and I'm going to be right back. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of cleanup. We're going to get this into the repository there, and then we're going to go ahead and for our next act we will go ahead and actually start to implement this archive process. Sound good? All right, give me 5 minutes or 2 minutes actually, and I'll be right back. All right, we are back. Let's go ahead here and get this stuff cleaned up. What do you say? We'll go ahead. Our tests are passing. The site is working locally. We'll take some resharper cleanups here. I'm going to go ahead and add, well, in fact, let's go ahead and first save this. Because we've got, so utilize cached GitHub service and app. All right, next up we're going to do, we're going to add this, I don't like it telling us the name of our project is incorrect, so we'll go ahead and add that to the resharper settings. We'll add that to the spelling dictionary. Great. All right, what else we got? No resharper suggestions here. Now, resharper is attempting to say, oh, we're redundant. Okay, so right now, we could, it's saying that since we're returning a new GitHub client, we don't need to say GitHub client because we're actually using the actual object there, and so we don't actually have to add the type there, right? So that makes sense. So we can get rid of that. All right, that makes sense. Add another spelling word there. All right, so what does it actually say? Resharper cleanup here. It's fine. And then here, what we're seeing is that resharper seems to think that the configure method is never used here. So this is being called by the runtime, and so there's already a comment there to that effect. So I actually want to turn off resharper's suggestion there, so we don't accidentally remove that and really shoot ourselves in the foot there. And that's acronym is also okay, so we're going to add that. Now we're good there. So more resharper cleanup. I'll leave the rest to the end. We'll go through the rest of our files here and see. Cache GitHub service is good. GitHub service is good. We can make that read only. That makes sense. Oh, the mock settings are only ever used in here, so we can make that local. That seems fine, as long as all of our tests still pass. Tests are all still passing. We'll add these to our dictionary. All right, so we've got the rest of our cleanup there. Let's go ahead and push those up, and it looks like we'll be in a good spot there to make it happen. Okay, so we've added that. We'll remove the work in progress piece. So we should be able to merge that. We'll let our build process go ahead and run on that, which is great, and then we'll be able to close that one out. Nice. And with that, then I think we're actually we want to do a couple of things. So one, we want to give a link to the repository. Right, so we want to actually work with a link so that someone can open the repository from our app and go there. And then we want to just double check, is there anything else we need to know about the project? No, I think that's okay for now. I think we're good. And so we're going to go ahead and get the number of, we'll add the link to the repository so someone can open it. We'll do that next. All right, we'll wait for our build to finish here. Close that instance of Firefox. go ahead and check that pull request here. As soon as we can get that merged in, we will. Hopefully it won't take much longer. For those of you on the stream, I'd like to know, have you ever worked with memory cache? Have you had the same issues I had today, kind of struggling with how do you mock that out? How do you work with an iMemory cache? Any issues along those lines before? And I'm thinking now too, I could probably have created an adapter. I could probably create an adapter for like memory cache called like test memory cache that takes in a memory cache, etc., and do something along those lines with it. But we'll figure that out. All right, looks like the build has finished. Just adding those labels. Great. Okay, so our pull request has been successful. Let's come back here and get that merged in. Okay, we'll squash and merge that. Get that in. Okay. All right. Now on to our next issue, which is going to be, as I mentioned, number 26, adding the link to the repo. So we'll pull our master branch again. We'll pull that in, and we'll create a new branch for 26, add link to repo. Okay. And so I'm thinking, when I look at like where I might want this link, I look for something like, let's look at the actual website as it is now. Okay, so I see these projects here, and I see their names, and what I'm thinking is I don't need a whole column, but I probably want to do the icon right next to the name of the project, so that someone can see like a pop-out window for that icon or something like that. Font Awesome is going to have an icon for that, so we should be able to do it. And that way, I'm thinking we could just add a quick link to that. And I'm doing that pop-out icon because I think it's possible that I may want to make this a clickable link to like more information for the project. From within the app, and so I'm going to add the icon to the side to potentially help people just so we can accomplish both things. I'm thinking ahead a little bit, so we'll see. Maybe that's a good idea, maybe it's not, but for now that's how we're going to approach it. Okay, so go ahead and I'm going to add a link to the repo here. So first up, we're going to need to get the repository URL. Now, we can already get that from our GitHub service here, so let's go ahead to our GitHub service tests. Let's add another test here. Scroll down to the bottom. All right, what else do we want to turn? Okay. So returns whether it's private from a GitHub client. So let's also say fact returns repo URL from the GitHub clients. So let's do this again. We'll say URL list. I think the URLs in GitHub are strings and not URIs. We'll see in Octokit. Otherwise, it should be fine. We'll be able to figure it out. So we'll string URL1. We're not going to make them actual URLs because I don't think any validation is happening there. Okay. 2. All right. So we'll see if that flies or if we have to convert them to URIs, and if so, that's fine. Okay. So repository objects. Yeah. We'll say with URL of. And we'll say, okay, this values URL, result URLs, we'll pull the result out, repo URL. Okay, and so in this case, so first thing we're going to do is set up our builder as we've done for the other tests. In our repository builder here, so URL of string URL repo URL equal. We don't have that field yet, and that's fine. So now we'll set up our local variable in our builder. And for those of you who are, if I'm going too fast, if you're you're just joining us and you're not, I'm moving along too fast, feel free to stop me or ask me to explain what I'm doing, and that's totally fine. Okay. So we're in our builder object here. I'm going to go ahead and use the default value here. Okay, and now that we have that actual value here, I'm going to come in and set up my, see here, URL of the repository here. We'll replace that with our builder object there. So now my test should be able to set that up. Alright, so I've got that, and now I need to actually add the repo URL field to our object. Coming back, so again, I'm thinking it's a string, maybe it'll end up being a URI. I'll set up our item here. Repo URL. Okay, so this isn't going to work now because I'm still not, I haven't updated our service here, so let's go ahead and do that. All right. Let's go ahead and check that. All right. So now this project is still failing to build. Why is that? Oh, that's right, because we actually are also using our other builder that we'd created here. So we're going to go ahead and return nothing here because it doesn't matter for our other tests. All right, so now with should build, our test will pass again. Great. Hey, Alex, welcome back. Good to have you here. All right. So our tests are passing. We're good. So now, next up, that means we need to go ahead and update our view to actually pull in that URL and make use of it. Let's go ahead and do that in our home view here in our index. We are going to add the Font Awesome icon. Let's go find an appropriate Font Awesome icon. I want something like a pop out, or the kind of thing that you see for an external link. So let's go ahead and look at that. Font Awesome 5. So I think what we're using, I'm using 5.1.3. Let's go ahead and do that. So let's look at icons for that. For pop or link, maybe. That is what I'm looking for, the external link alt. So we have that arrow that sort of shows that it's going to pop out there, and that's what I want to do. So next to our repo name here, prior to this, I want to go ahead and add href equals. So we'll add our link there, and actually then inside of that, I'm going to want to add the font awesome, and we want it to be, actually, what was that? I think it'll be FA external link alt, FAS external link alt. All right, copied that. Thank you, Font Awesome website. That was convenient. All right, and I want the href to be item.repo URL. Okay, and let me go back to that GitHub service and verify that URL is in this case a string. Okay, so given that we've got our tests, we've got our view, let's go ahead and fire this up. Commit that while we're waiting for it to load. So there we go. Let's see. We can see the link there. Where is it headed to? We can see it's heading to the appropriate website here. Ah. However, it's the wrong link. You'll note that in reality, this is actually pointing to the API for the GitHub repo URL. So it's actually the reference link. So that's not what we want. We actually want to specify, let's see, the HTML URL embedding. Give that a shot there. Now, of course, it's not going to work, right? Because with URL of is actually setting the wrong URL, the build method rather. So we can see here, we don't want that. We'll turn that back to the dummy string. We want the HTML URL here. Let's try to set that. All right. Tester passing again. Oh, wrong. Started the wrong repo. That is in my unit test repo, so it ran it as a console app, which is lovely, but not what we were looking for. Okay. Let's see what we've got here. That looks like the website I'm looking for. Okay, so now we can get there, and then the last thing, so say use HTML URL. And the last thing I want to do is make sure that that opens in a blank window because it's specifically an icon for doing that. So we'll set target equals blank. All right, we'll verify. Then when I click on the link, let that load. Right, great. So, all right, we've got our fantastic. So we've got that. We'll make our last commit. So we're getting to the spot now where I think we're coming up on the time we're actually be able to start archiving this repo and working on some of the stuff for that. I'm feeling a little bit of stream fatigue today, and so actually I'm probably going to stop for the day. I'm trying to keep myself together here and make sure that that I'm not burning out on this because I'm really enjoying it. So add repo link to view. Which table we'll say. So we'll let that build finish and kick off and see where that goes. But I really I was looking forward to getting to the piece today where we just went for it and we started archiving a repo. And I'm gonna give me 30 seconds while this is running, and let's see if I've got it in me to do a little bit longer. So in the meantime, those of you who are in the chat would love to hear a little bit about where you're from, how you found us, whether this length of stream is working for you or whether you feel like it may be a little too long. We can go from there. So I'm going to bounce away for a second and I'll be right back. All right, we are back. So I think I am gonna let myself see if I can continue on for a little bit longer here. But because I've been narrating so much, I'm actually gonna take a break. I'm gonna step back for a little bit. I'm gonna be a little quieter and just do some work here. See who's in the chat from time to time. Feel free to drop by and say hello. All right, I'm also gonna turn on some music in the background, so this is gonna be a little bit more of a quiet spot in the session, and that's fine with me. Hey Alex, hey Rubber Slayer, welcome to the chat. I'm being a little bit quiet these days, but I'd love to hear a little bit about what you've been up to, especially Rubber Slayer. I'd love to know a little bit about how you found us in the chat, and what brings you in today. And for those of you who are joining, what I'm doing is I'm in the process of adding another method to my GitHub service, so that I can go ahead and pull additional information about a single repository, and that way you can show kind of a confirmation screen that shows some additional information about an individual repository before we go ahead and archive it. So I'm creating a method that does not yet exist on my GitHub service, then we'll go through that round. And this time around, I'm not going to do TDD because I've been doing that enough today, and it's my project, and I can have the test afterwards if I want to. So there. Alright, so I've got my model controller now. Let's go ahead and update my service to actually do it. So I already have a GitHub client here, so I'm going to go ahead and say activity, watching, get all watchers of the repository ID. Wait that. So I'll make this an async task of, so I'll have to update my method signature, and that is fine. Listed here. That's where the method is. I marked it down previously. Traffic, okay. For those of you who had joined, thanks for being here. I appreciate seeing you. I'm just going along and modifying this, making this GitHub client work a little bit. For those of you who are new in the chat, I see Lemon Juice is 12. Thanks for stopping by. I'd love to know a little bit about you, your name, where you're from. Just drop something in the chat and say hello. And I also mentioned earlier I'm taking a little bit of a background break here just because I've been narrating for a long time, but feel free to ask questions, tell me to stop. I'm all about taking a diversion here. I just want to make sure I'm saving my voice as well. GitHub services. I figure why not. I haven't used the template in a little while. Do that. For those of you who are just joining us in the chat, really happy to have you here. Would love to hear a little bit more about you, where you're from, where you're joining us from. For the update here, we're making an MVC web app that's going to help us archive some repositories. And so right now I'm updating my GitHub service to be able to pull some additional information so I can show a view for one given repository, which we'll then use as the sort of landing page from which to archive a repository. And I'm just going to do a basic list at this point because I don't want to, I'm not trying to do anything too fancy here. I already don't like this idea. It's okay. In fact, you know what I'm going to do? We'll do the same table, and then we'll add some additional information at the bottom. I'm going to steal that from this other table. Kind of like that idea. See, at least make use of some of the other UI that we had there. That's fine. So let's double check that first. At least what we should be able to see now is a link to that individual repository. So I'm going to go ahead and add that link here in this in the main page here. So we'll actually be able to click that link and get there. So we actually have the name. The name itself to be an action link now. So I think, in general, I should, when we see this now, I should see that the project, I can go to the project from GitHub, and this should be an action link that goes to that repo action. Double check my home controller that is called repo action. It is not. It's called repository info. Let's go ahead and switch that. let's give that a shot. Ah, good old missing semicolon. Great to have you all here in the chat, by the way. Thank you for those of you who are just joining us. What we're doing, first of all, don't forget to click the follow button because I'm going to be doing a lot of these streams in the future. Even though I'm a little quiet right now, we've got streams coming up that are going to use Azure, .NET Core, Azure DevOps, Docker. I'm going to do some stuff with Terraform coming up probably, so definitely don't forget to hit the follow button if you're enjoying the stream. I'm stopping narrating for a little bit just because I've been doing this for a while, so I'm kind of taking a break on my voice. But what we're doing here, just to catch you up, is we're building a tool to allow us to archive some GitHub repositories. And so we can see here, what we can see is that we can see the description of a repository. This is all coming from Octokit. This is wired up through Azure AD, so it's got that. And now I'm going to see if this works for my individual page here. Okay, so we can see the details here, so it is correct as to what I'm getting there. That's great. So I'm able to reuse some of that. That's excellent. I'm going to go ahead and add some additional information there. But for those of you who joined us in the chat, I've been saying this throughout the day, but I'd love to hear a little bit more about who you are, where you're from, how you found us, what your favorite dev technologies are. Like, is this all new for you? Are you using .NET Core and Azure or Docker every day, or what is the kind of stuff you'd like to hear about as well? Because I'm definitely up for doing some more things in the stream based on your preferences too. So feel free to weigh in or just say hello, and I'd love to hear from you. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead here and say all right. Notice that I had no space between that link here, so I'm going to do that. Okay. Great. Okay, and I'm a big fan of, oh, I've been accidentally committing to master. God, I hate when that happens. Normally I'd back out, but in this case I feel like we're okay. I'm just going to go ahead and, no, it doesn't feel right. Now I get to remember the muscle memory of, we've had, and I mentioned this because we've had such a good, solid Git history so far. I'm not trying to mess it up and just pollute a bunch of stuff on master in general. So let's try and actually make this work. Joke is on me for not remembering how to do this. Okay. This is where I get to get, I've Googled this probably 100 times, and that's just how it works. I believe I have to make a branch, then I have to reset the master to 2 commits ahead. Yeah. On the branch to which you're committing, how many do you want to roll back? Set your current branch back by. Okay, so that's what I want to do. Okay, so I'll do git log. That sounds familiar. Okay, let's go ahead and I wonder if it. I'm just going to go ahead and see if GitHub Desktop actually does this for me. Only because if it does, it'll be amazing, and I've had good luck with it before. Let's see. What do I want this branch to be called? Call it 33 individual repo page. Nah, okay. Okay, there we go. So we've got the history there, and then we'll go ahead and back that out on master once we've got it published. Okay. Fair enough. Now let's go ahead and reset my master branch after I do that. Actually resolve a few of our other issues as well, since we're getting those individual items. Link an individual's number, repository views, and watchers. This is going to resolve number 28 and 25 when we're done with it here, so that's good. Okay. So we've got our link here. Now we've got our, we'll go back to our, oh, I probably should reset those commits on the master branch first. Check out master. Git reset heads to hard. All right, that gets us back to, those commits are gone. Now we'll check out our individual repo branch, and there they are again. Okay, that's what I wanted. Master is clean, and we've got it there. Okay. So let's go ahead and add that additional information from the extended information here. Okay. And I actually want to specifically call this out in a big way as extended information. Generally copy the table style here, and then we'll clear out some of the data. Column that we want. The columns that we want here are going to be number of watchers and number of views in past 14 days. I'm going to have to make a note to confirm that. In fact, let's confirm that right now. Let's just do API. There's something the GitHub API is going to do. May also want those statistics though, actually, so we'll pull those in a minute. Let's see this. I believe it's views in the past 14 days. So let's see. Octokit traffic. Okay, so traffic is definitely supported for a long time now. That's good. And what we have to figure out is if that actually is views in the past 14 days. Let's see if I get any IntelliSense on that. Get view. Okay, per day or week for the last 14 days. That's great. Okay. Is that by day? Okay, maybe I have to do the sum. Oh. we'll try count first. We'll see if it's always 14. If we do that by day, or do it by week and it's 2. So we'll see how that goes. That's fine, we'll leave it for now. But it is for the past 14 days, so at least we've confirmed that. Okay. Number of watchers. Using the last 14 days. All right, let's see how that's looking. And again, this is in the service of giving people the most information they can have about the repository before they go ahead and archive it, right? We want to make sure that they're sunsetting it accurately. Hey, for those of you in the chat, I just want to know, I'm only hearing the music in my headphones. If you could give me some input, is the music too loud, okay volume, are you able to hear me, is it drowning me out? I'd really appreciate it because I'm sort of experimenting with the music and I don't want it to drown out things too much. So it looks like that is 2, and I doubt that that is coincidental that it just had 2 views. So let's go and check this. Oh, interesting. Maybe it was. Wait, it wasn't coincidental. All right. Let's try one of the newer repositories and see if that's cool. Huh, okay, so it looks like the count is showing the total count, apparently, which is great. It does show the number of watchers. Okay. Excellent. It looks like I might be able to get some repository statistics as well. And so let's go ahead and see in terms of the activity if I can find anything useful there to pass along. GitHub client.repository dot statistics, I think. Yep. Weekly aggregate of the number of additions and deletions. Last year of commit activity group by a week. Oh, this is awesome. Interesting. Punch card of commits by hour. Okay. Commit activity over the last year is really interesting to me because I feel like I'd be really, very interested to see. I'd be very interested to see. I don't know. Let's see. I don't know if I want the code frequency, or if I want the commit activity over the last like 4 weeks, say. Weekly aggregate of the number of additions, deletions pushed to a repository. Well, I feel like I'm probably going to go for commit activity because I want, if it gets the last year of activity, I think I want to just do that and then sort by like the 4 most recent weeks or something like that. So let's go ahead and think about the idea of, well, let's look at what I got from it first. Then I'll have, what am I going to have here? See what one of these looks like. So the week of commits, I think I'm probably going to want to order that by the last. So okay, so I think what I'm going to want to do is order descending by the week, and then the week. I'm just double checking here. Group of commits per day, starting on Sunday. Total commits next week. So I think what I'm going to want to do is I'm going to do sort by descending week, and then take the first 4, and then get a sum of their total. So let's thank you link. Let's go ahead and do that. Actually, in fact, just to make sure, we'll do it by the timestamp, just to get the last 4. Take the last 4, and then return the sum of x dot total. And so this is commits in the last 4 weeks. Activity in the last 4 weeks. Now I think. So it's the last year of commit activity. So I'm thinking that that means from today and not from like the last year of commits that the repository has, because that wouldn't make as much sense. Okay, let's go ahead and return. We'll add that here. We'll add that to our extended repo information. We'll add it to our view. Field for that. All right, we'll go ahead and add that to. Go ahead and add that to the individual page here. Test that out and see what we got. Now a reminder that we're again making, so now sort of for every individual repo page we have, we're making sort of 3 calls to the GitHub API, right? So I'm starting to become a little bit nervous about the amount of calls we're making for a request. Now luckily Octokit is fast and the GitHub API is fast, and so I feel like we're doing okay with it, but it's just something where I want to be cognizant of that yeah, I'm making 3 calls, but I think I don't want to let that get too far out of control. This is going to take a little while longer for that page to load, so 0 commits, 2 views in the past 14 days. All right, let's go to a recent repo and see what it's showing for that. Commit activity in the last 4 weeks, 3, okay. See about commit activity in the last 4 weeks. Okay, 21 commits there in the last 4 weeks. Great. So this is good. I think that we've got an idea of that and what's going on. That's great. Add commit activity over the last 4 weeks. Push that, and I'm looking at, let's look at what we had for our issue here. Right, so we're not actually going to add the button in this one, so I think this is good. I think this pull request covers what we're trying to cover. So we're going to let our build finish. fact, I'm going to probably live on the edge and say that I'm going to go ahead and squash and merge that before the build completes. Live on the edge, that's fine. Alright, gonna pull the master branch, go ahead and grab that. Alright, so now we're actually at the spot where we're gonna go ahead and see if we can't start to, add a button to actually archive the repository. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay. Let's go ahead and clear my windows. Sometimes I get a little confused. I have 14 gazillion windows open. I like to have it a little clearer for my own headspace. Okay, so my individual repo page, I'm going to want to do something here. After all my tables, I'm going to want to say so let's do a nice little Bootstrap warning here. Can't quite remember. Where is this Bootstrap for, or is it now? Let's just look at Bootstrap warning. Cool. Easy enough. We're going to go ahead and do an alert here. We use the danger convention. In fact, let me pull the warning from GitHub itself, because I want to make sure I kind of stay true to their wording, and they say it better than I can, right? So let's go ahead and do that. If I was to go in the settings for this repo, what does the actual archive text say? Unexpected things. This is great. Now, in this case, I'm not so worried. Let's see. So, ensure you've changed any repository settings. Consider closing all open issues and pull requests, and updated your README before you archive this repository. Now, in this case, I'm actually going to say, clicking this button will create a pinned issue in the typo. Alright, let's see how that looks. I'm still on master, so I'm going to avoid that problem from last time. Figure out what's probably create an issue. So what we need to do is add alert and archive functionality. So we'll name our branch 35, add archive functionality. Okay. Oh, so right, we probably don't want it to be in centered text. That's fine. Not centering these headings. See how that looks. That might look silly in its own way. Those of you in the stream, I'm really happy that you're here. Don't forget to hit the follow button on Twitch there so that you can catch up with me for future streams. Like I mentioned, we're going to have a lot of different topics coming up, so happy to have you along for the ride. All right, you know, that's not the worst. Okay, let's go ahead and say make it a danger button as well. Wow, I think we've looped around on the tracks a couple of times on the music. I think I'm going to have to go ahead and add some additional tracks to my plays if I'm going to stream this long. We're going on 3 hours now. All right, good. That's good. Cool. All right. So now we've got that danger button there. Okay, so now we've got our visuals there. Let's go ahead and add an action link there. All right, so I think we're at the spot where we'll want to do an app. Yeah, we'll do a link there. Okay. I always forget the best way to make the buttons play together, right? With the, I just actually want to do. Okay, so that's what actually we want. Okay. class. Now I have to remember how to do custom classes on an action link. Let's try that. Let's see how that works. I know it doesn't typically work right now. Let's go. Just make sure it's generating the button that looks like I expect it to and not blowing up. Great. Okay. So we've got our repo here. So now we're actually at the spot where we're thinking about making actions here, and I don't want to go ahead and do that. I kind of want a what if going on. I've already got a logger here, so I think I'm going to go ahead and rely on that for a second here. So what I'm seeing here now is that we have, I can create the issue, but pinning it is not something I'm actually sure I can do. So let me go see here. Interesting. So maybe the GitHub API doesn't actually offer it. Double checking something here. Okay, interesting. So there's a state. I wonder if state indicates pinned as well. So let's see. Okay, so closed and open. So actually maybe the Octokit may not support that right now, and that's okay. That is okay. We can just add the issue and then archive it. It'll still be the top issue in the repo. So it's not really the end of the world. We'll go ahead and say create archive issue in repo. I'm going to add a follow-up to our repo here. So add here. I'm not sure if Octokit supports it. So that's fine and very well. Looks like it's not available currently, so we may end up closing that out, but that is fine. So right now I'm just going to have it do nothing real quick. I just want to, try that out. I want the log file more than anything. Create archive issue in repo. Is there anything else we want to do? I think that's probably it, right? Okay. Oh, we need to implement this in the cache GitHub service, of course, as well. And again, this isn't something that we need to cache, it's an action, so we're good with that. Pass that right on through. Okay. So that looks like I would expect it to be. Do we build? Oh, interesting. There's that even issue edit. I wonder if that's a thing we can do. So we have a repository. Okay, so by the way, I'm looking at this now and I'm seeing, I'm thinking that like actually archiving it is, these are commands and I shouldn't be caching those. I should probably have some separate commands and queries rather than lumping it all into a service. So I can think about that and breaking that up probably. Okay. go ahead and see this. Let's see. Okay. So it looks like we're at the spot now where I should be able to, maybe we'll just go ahead and we'll pause it there. So I don't actually want to hit anything there. So that's fine, let's do that. And then I'm going to have to wrap up for the day because we are, very close on this. But I think we'll wrap it up in the next set of the streams because I think that, I don't want to do that and rush it through and start archiving things by accident or something along those lines. So, we'll figure out what's going on there, but. Okay. So I see here, no activity, last 6 years ago. Okay, let's go ahead and hit archive. All right, so we should see user is Sean Clear on Excel.com. That's great. That's fine. So let's look at, let's go ahead and do it. Let's create the archive success view first. Let's go ahead, add this, we'll say, view, archive success. View. successes there. You know, it looks like we should be able to do that. Let's give it a shot. So the cache won't be updated if we do that. So we'll still have like the caching sticking around and stuff, but you know, we can do it if we want to. Let's give it a shot. I think I'm going to go for it. All right. Okay, let's give it a shot. I'll check it here just to see. Okay, let's give it a shot. Let's see. Archive there. Wow, there we go. That is pretty awesome. Okay, so what we've seen is now we actually have the tool to the point where the access is there, and via the token that I have, it actually shows my username. So again, we'll want to use like an IT or a bot username eventually, but I think that is fantastic. So we're at the spot where that actually works here. So last piece we need to do, well, first we'll add this. So we'll create our tool there, or we'll create our RPR there. We'll let that build kick off. And so I think what we're going to have to do there is the next thing we need to do is make sure we bust up the cache when that is completed, so that the next time we load the repo list, it will not include those items. But honestly, I don't even care about that at this point, because functionally we can do the thing that we are supposed to do, which is awesome. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and do that. So once we can merge this pull request, I can actually start using this tool, which is phenomenal. I'm very excited for this PR to finish. Close some extra tabs here. Okay. Let's go and check the details on Azure pipelines. And with that, I think we are about ready to call this done, which is fantastic. So the website is out. At this point, the tool is working. The website is out there. I have the ability to add an issue, an archive, a repository, which means we can start that. And then the next piece is just that we need to break that cache. So while I wait for that build, let's go ahead and add an issue for that. I'm actually going to go ahead in the Octokit project and create an issue as well. Okay, so we've got that issue created and referenced, and we just need to do all right. So we've got that issue created, but in fact, I'm going to go ahead and say that I think that we're actually pretty much out of time for today, but I'm really enjoying the fact that we have this item here that's actually working, that we can actually use. I feel pretty stellar about the progress that we made today. I'm going to go ahead and merge that. So hopefully last up we'll just create something that will help us bust out of that cache, and then when the user goes back to the list, they won't see that cached list, and then I think we'll be pretty good. I'm going to go ahead and, for the sake of this, I'm going to allow this next build and deployment to finish. We'll wait for release 18 to go out to production, and when release 18 goes out to production, I'm going to actually try doing one of this live. Do its thing here. We'll follow the pipeline run as well, just so we can follow along with the progress on the deployment. All right. Things are moving right along. Okay, it's doing its thing, publishing. Okay. Things are moving right along. All right, looks like the build is complete, so we should soon see a release kickoff here. All right, and you know what? In this case here, I think what we're going to do is we're going to wrap it up for the day. But when we come back tomorrow, oh, here we go. Now we're actually underway. I'm bumping up against the clock, and so I want to, make sure that I don't overstay my welcome here. But okay, so we've got release 18. It is out there. That's fantastic. So we're going to go ahead and go to repo. Log us in. It's going to take its sweet time that first time. Remember, this is where it's, getting all of those issues, right? All of the repositories, information, and all of that stuff. So, right, so this first request takes a bit. And we'll actually, let me add an issue to the backlog there. Warm up the So we'll want to warm up that repo entry upon startup. All right, so let's look at the next one. So we can see here the repository that we previously archived is now down here in the archives list. It was one of these. So let's go back up to the top. Let's see. Java Cucumber Selenium Training has 1 star, but was last active 6 years ago. So we'll pull information. All right, let's 6 years ago, 2 views in the past 14 days, 0 commit activity, only 1 watcher, only 1 star. I think we can go ahead and archive this. Okay. So the training is there. It is archived. Return to the list here. Now we can see it's still in that list, but that's what we're going to figure out with the cache busting next time, and we'll be able to hopefully edit just that one item. And we'll figure out how to do that and see if we can make that work. Probably just flipping that archive flag and going from there, and see if we can edit, set the cache with that item again. Okay, so I think we're in pretty good shape at this point. The project is working, and therefore I'm going to sign off for the day. And so I want to go ahead and say thank you to everybody for joining this stream along the way. So far, I feel like we've gotten to get a lot done with the Octokit library. We're finally getting to the spot where we're able to take some action on these GitHub repositories, and it looks okay too. I feel like it's got enough information at our fingertips that we can actually do something useful with it. And so with that, I'm going to sign off for today. Hope to check in with you on the stream tomorrow when maybe we'll wrap this up and get a release of it out there, or start to publicize it a little bit. So hopefully we'll see you then, but in the meantime, I love you all. I hope you're doing as well as can possibly be, and hopefully we'll catch you next time. All right, have a good one. Bye-bye.